The stuff with Jordan's interesting, going back to where he wanted to stay for his senior year at North Carolina. And it almost felt like Dean said, hey, you're going to the NBA. And the fact that Bob Knight, it didn't take long for him to realize that this is the greatest basketball player talent-wise he had ever seen, trying to convince the Blazers to take Michael Jordan. And they said, hey, we got Clyde Drexler and Jim Paxson. We have no room for Michael Jordan. Those were great. Those were great stories there. Great nuggets.
Nice quote to Stu Inman, the GM of the Blazers, who was a friend of his. And you're right. The guy said, hey, we don't need Jordan. We already got a swingman. We got this Drexler guy. We have, ironically enough, we have Jim Paxson. And nice quote was, trust me, take Jordan, play him at center if you have to. You don't want to miss on this kid. For whatever his flaws were, give Bob Knight credit for that one.
Toughest interview to get for the book was who?
The interview that never happened, which was Jordan. He's tough. And, I was saying this the other day, you go back and you look at 1984, he is so cool and he's funny and he's a prankster. And, I certainly understand how fame can wear you down, but to me, it's a bit of a pity that he's been a little reclusive, because he was great as a 20-year-old, great as a 21-year-old. And I think that the fame monster sort of beat him up. But no, people were great for this book. And I think it's because David Stern was a real resource. And he was basically saying, everyone remembers it, right? Everyone knows Magic and Bird and people have these memories, but it's far enough away so I don't have to worry about, saying something I shouldn't. So people were great when I got them, but Jordan, full disclosure, Jordan declined my outreach.
Well, and I went through this firsthand. I was very lucky to do those interviews after he was winning championships. But he was going to be the number one athlete, the sports century number one athlete. And we couldn't get him for an interview. And we were chasing Michael Jordan down he was going to be the number one athlete. And then Mike, you're going to be the number one athlete. Everybody else has done an interview here. And we eventually got him. I had to go to New York last minute to his hotel, set it up. He came in from golfing, and he sat down, and I don't know how long he went, and I don't even know how good it was, but we would have looked really bad with the number one athlete, and he wouldn't sit down. But I just think he gets to that point where what does he need to answer anymore? But if you had one question you knew you were going to get an honest answer from Michael Jordan, what would you have asked?
I wondered whether in 1984 he had a sense of where this was going. He was supremely confident. He knew he understood the business right away. I mean, David Falk did not have to convince him that he needed his own signature shoe. I think Michael Jordan, for as much as we talk about him, I don't think he's gotten enough credit for really changing the balance of power in terms of athlete and management. And I wonder in 1984 if he was already onto this. And I think, you and I know this, right? Some athletes are cut out for this, and some athletes, they are what they do. Maybe they're just not that interesting. Maybe they've been burned by the media. I mean, Michael Jordan, go back and read about his quotes and the way he conducted himself. His decision, we've never experienced a fraction of his fame. I certainly haven't, but this guy has Peyton Manning's sense of humor and Barkley's instincts. I mean, at age 20, at age 21, he was fantastic as a character. So it's a bit of a pity to me that he's so reclusive now, because he had it in him to be this figure who was a lot more prominent in the call. I mean, his decision. I hope he enjoys the golf, but I do think he had it in him to be Peyton Manning or Barkley if he wanted to.
Yeah, but I look back differently on Jordan. His mom made him go to Portland and meet with Nike. You had the two different agents who were going to represent him. They kind of said, you get Sam Perkins and you get Michael Jordan. Yeah. Sonny Vaccaro is the one who deserves the credit for Michael Jordan being that, because Sonny said, give him all the money. Let's do a shoe based on a player. That was unheard of, because you had Magic and Larry were doing Converse. And as you point out in the book, Converse didn't really invest in these individuals. They just basically gave you a check. Sonny Vaccaro had the wisdom to say, we're going to create a shoe for Michael Jordan. That's the genius there. Mike just went along for the ride.
success has many fathers. George Raveling played a role. I mean, I think some of this too. David Falk is this tennis agent, and he has this boss, Donald Dell, and Falk is really kind of, it's like entourage. I mean, David Falk is really trying to make a name for himself, and he seizes on Jordan and says, "This guy is charismatic. He's playing in a big media market. He understands intuitively what I'm trying to do." So yeah, I mean, I think Sonny gets credit. I think Raveling gets credit. I think Falk gets credit. But I think Jordan got it, and Jordan understood that there was a lot more money on the table for an athlete than what his rookie contract with the Bulls was going to pay him. And Jordan really, Jordan leaned into the role, right? I mean, he did the shoots in the limos, and he did the Mars Blackman, and Jordan understood intuitively that he wasn't going to make nearly as much money from the Bulls as he should have, but there were these other revenue sources. And I think this is a real, we talk about sort of activism and the, Card 68 Olympics and even more recently Kaepernick, but I think Jordan understanding commerce is one of these pivot points in sports history that we're going to be talking about.